So just to kind of start out with introductions, I will start and let you know that here at the high school, we do have 4 school counselors. There is Mrs. Narducci. She is here this evening, coming down the stairs waving. So that's Miss Narducci. She takes the first part of the alphabet. She's got A through E. Mrs. Pettis is not available tonight, but she has the next portion of the alphabet with F through LA. And then I am Dan Miller. I'm the newest counselor here. It's my 3rd year in St. Michael, but my 1st year back. So it's great to be back here. I'm really fortunate to work with all of your students again. And I have the LE through RH group. And then Mrs. Essler has the RI through Z group. So we do have about 2,400 students in this building, which equates to almost 600 kids per caseload. So it's really nice for us to do this alphabetically, because obviously if we have some older siblings come through the building, we get to know you as a family, we get to know those students pretty well, because we do stay with them for 4 years then, once they do come to the high school. So, just an overview of the registration process, and kind of why it's important and why we do it around this time. So again, materials were distributed to your student this week. We went through this PowerPoint as well as some of the sheets that were handed out. Looks like some of you might have those already, which is great. So we went through a few different sheets that the student should have, or at least have in their possession and hopefully bring home. And we always encourage students to talk with the teachers and their counselors. That can be their counselors at the middle school or one of us. So please don't hesitate to reach out to one of us, and hopefully we can get some of your questions answered as well. But ultimately, also talking with you at home about what classes they're going to take and why. Tonight is our parent guardian meeting, obviously. So again, covering the same materials we've covered all week. Just so you know, we will also be returning back to the middle schools on January 13th to give a little bit more information to your students. Students are going to register online through their student view this year, and we'll give out those instructions next week on Thursday. Those yellow sheets, so their registration sheets, are all going to be due back to their teachers, their math teachers at the middle schools by January 12th, so that those teachers can kind of get a first look over on them, make sure that they look accurate, check for errors or help them answer some final questions, and then we'll come in on that Thursday and kind of collect those sheets, make sure they're right, and go through the registration process with them. Final registration, so we're opening it, it's a 5-day window. All right, so this is something to be important of at home, because students are going to do this on their own, whether that's in the building or at home. So from January 13th through January 18th, that registration window is going to be open for students to go in and input the classes that they want to take their 9th grade year. Again, all students should put in the 15 classes. Some of those are already chosen for them. You'll see that on the registration yellow sheet. Some of them they do get to pick an either or on there. And then also they'll have 4 class choices that they get to make in those elective boxes. And then do please add in 3 alternate classes as well. Those are really important just because students don't always get every class that they put in there based on staffing. So one thing that I like to really kind of put out there about registration is our school and our district make staffing decisions for the following school year based off of registration. So I really emphasize that students should be really, really picky about the classes that they are choosing and making good choices in classes and making sure they're reading through course descriptions to know what they're getting themselves into, because ultimately all the staffing is made, decisions are made through that for next year. And sometimes if they want to go change a class, it's just not, they don't have the ability to do that. Again, we have a lot of students in this building, fewer staff, so we have really big class sizes. And when we already have really big class sizes, there's less room for students to move around. And so just make sure that your students are cognizant of that, so they are picking classes that they really want to take and that they're excited about, so that we can have the right things in place for them for next year. Once they put things in the computer, they're assigned to that class through the master schedule that gets run. It's a computer program, it's kind of a matrix. Not all of our classes are offered every hour, all 3 trimesters. And so sometimes things move around, or sometimes classes aren't offered certain trimesters. So it is something to be aware of, that when that master schedule gets built, students are then assigned to those classes once that's built. Students will also get their schedule then at our kickoff days in August, right around the same time that fall sports start. So there are very few similarities between a high school day and what a middle school day looks like, and we kind of went over this with all the students this week as well. The one similarity is that we do still have that trimester schedule in place. After that, everything changes quite a bit. So our school day here at the high school is 8:30 to 3:20. It is a little bit longer in duration than what their middle school day is. We have 5 class periods here, whereas they have 7 in the middle school. So our class periods are a little bit longer as well. And then they will start every day with a homeroom for 5 minutes. They are with that homeroom teacher also for all 4 years, and those are usually alphabetically based. So students from middle school west and east will both be in that homeroom all 4 years. So they'll get to know that group really well. And then also, again, providing a staff member that they can rely on and build a relationship with for 4 years is also a really good thing. So they're with them from day 1 to their graduation date in 2026. So their homeroom will also take care of a few things like community service hours. So if you have older students that have gone through here, you'll understand that a little bit. And we'll cover some of that in more detail later. And then also, our class periods are 62 minutes or 68 minutes. And that would depend on if we offer SNAP, which is a student needs assistance period. It's essentially a 25-minute built-in study hall twice a week that we have in our schedule for students to visit any of their 5 teachers or their homeroom advisor to get questions answered, to make up tests or quizzes, to get some work done, check in. And so it's a really cool opportunity for kids to get some work done here in the building during the week to try and alleviate some of that stress of taking stuff home. So with that, I will turn it over to Mrs. Narducci.
Thank you. I think this works. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what it takes to graduate from STMA. So if this is your first student going through the high school, very similar expectations as the previous years, but 3 major things. Completion of 55 credits, which we'll talk more about in detail and what 55 credits those are, as well as meeting a college and career readiness requirement. Those are always set by the state of Minnesota's Department of Education, and we are then going to provide you an opportunity to do that. So really, this year, our junior and senior class we had to provide them an opportunity to take the ACT, and that met that requirement. So whatever that is for the class of 2026, we will provide and let you know what to do. And then your completion of 16 community service hours. So that's one that's kind of unique to STMA, but also important, and it is required in order to graduate. So checking those 3 boxes is the way that you will earn a diploma at STMA High School. Tonight we're going to focus more on the credits and what those 55 things are, because you're starting to register for part of those 55 credits. Just know when it comes to the community service, like Mr. Miller said, your student's homeroom advisor is going to be the one that tracks all those hours and helps you guys know where they're at with community service, and also they turn their sheets that document community service into them during the school year, okay? You do have access to view that information also once your child is enrolled here at the high school for how many hours and how to track that yourself too. So, all right, so let's talk about what those 55 credits actually are. So we did a little math with your kids today, and we talked about how, we have 15 classes here every year at the high school that they get to take. So if you have this sheet and you brought it with you, it says 4-year plan that your student got today, pull it out now if you want to follow along. The things that are really important about this are it kind of gives you, of those 55 credits, these are the actual core classes that your student is going to take at each grade level. So today we focus a lot on the 9th grade courses that they're going to take, but it's also helpful for you guys to look and plan, and we give this to all of our students every year during registration, not just 9th graders, to look and plan. So you can see that your student's going to take 2 credits of 9th grade English this year, and then they're going to take 2 credits of human geography or early American history and social studies, and then 2 credits of math, physical science, health 1, Phy-Ed, and then financial and computer essentials. On your sheet, it's probably called freshman 7, but a little name change there. But it's also nice because you can track across then and look at, okay, so what am I going to take for social studies as a 10th grader? And on here it shows you they're going to take U.S. history, and then as a junior they're going to take American government econ, and then as a senior they're going to take world history. So any class that's up here, already typed in, is a core class, and that is what it is slated it to be in your student's schedule at the high school, okay? And then any of those empty boxes on here, represent all the classes that they can take as electives, okay? So these 4 empty boxes under 12, 13, 14, 15 here on 9th grade are all of the elective options that they can fill in. So they get 4 at this point in time for next year. But then as you track over, you can see that they have lots of available elective space as a senior. And that's left over to take other courses, those 21 electives that are in addition to these credits to get to 55 to graduate. And that is everything that is in addition to this. So if they take a 4th year of math and science, which most of our students will do, that is an elective credit at that point. It rolls into those electives, okay? So a lot of times kids are kind of bummed because they only have 4, but we always like to point out, but look at how many you have as a senior when you're here. You can fill that with all the fun classes that you hope to take or the interest that you have as you gain. So your student probably looked at this and felt a little overwhelmed, maybe you do too, but we help them do this every year. The other thing we do is sometimes we have kids who like to sit down and actually plan their whole 4 years out right now, and they look at it as they track themselves, and that's okay too. We realize you might change your mind a little bit, but it's still helpful to kind of look ahead. So that's what we kind of use that for today. One thing that is absent from our list that you looked at just now, that 4-year plan, is world language. And that is because world language is not a graduation requirement at STMA High School. So you hear mixed reviews about this a lot because a lot of kids come in a panic, maybe their senior year telling me they haven't taken their foreign language, but that's because they're not required to, okay? So foreign language and world language is an option for students to take. The reason it gets confused a lot of times, I think, is because a lot of 4-year colleges, so a 4-year university, the U of M Twin Cities, maybe a private school, they recommend or oftentimes require 2 years of the same foreign language for admissions, okay? So that's why a lot of times kids will say it's required because it's required for college entrance. It is not required to graduate, okay? So taking a foreign language at the high school is a choice that kids can make. We offer Chinese and Spanish, okay? So a lot of times kids think, should I start Spanish or Chinese as a freshman? And the answer is you do have an opportunity to, and we offer 4 years of both of them. So if your child wants to take 4 years of a world language, they would need to start as a freshman in order to do that. However, if they don't want to, let's say they just want to meet this college requirement and take 2 years, they could take that at any point between now and the start of their junior year, right? Because then they just need 2 years to squeeze that in. It is a more, I would say, rigorous core class. So if you have a student who maybe struggles to balance already in middle school, and you're not quite sure if they want to do that, it's okay to push it off and take other electives and see how high school starts out and then take that as a sophomore, okay? It is not, once again, required. I think a lot of times, even after we say this a lot, kids come in as a freshman and they registered for Spanish because they thought they had to. So it's a great opportunity, but you definitely cannot, you can wait until later. You don't have to start as a freshman. Okay. All right, so advanced course options. So a lot of kids have questions about this. So at the high school, we do offer quite a few advanced course options for 9th graders. Right at the top there, English. So we talked about these in pretty in-depth with your students today and kind of how to select them. But we do offer regular English and also advanced English 9. So the way we told students about that today is if they're already in an advanced English class at the middle school, that prepares them and tracks them pretty well to stay in an advanced English class at the high school. So that is an opportunity for them. There's also students who might want to self-select into an advanced English course, and they can do that at this point too. I would say those students who are going to be most successful in an advanced English class at the high school are already doing very well in their current English class if it's regular. They excel, they like reading, writing, and they'd like to do more of it, right? And they are okay with the rigorous coursework because it is a little bit more work than the regular English. So they would just need to be prepared. It's a good conversation to have if they're taking a step up from regular to advanced with their teacher and just make sure what they think. Sometimes they can give you a pretty good recommendation. And then just talk about that as a family too. Next is math. So here at the high school, our advanced math students are actually kind of designated by if they're in advanced math at the middle school. So Ms. Essler is going to talk through several math tracks in a second here. But really the big thing to know about advanced math is if they are in advanced math at the middle school, then they can move into advanced math at the high school without missing curriculum. So they would need to be in that right now, okay? The third one down is advanced physical science. And in order to take advanced physical science, they need to be concurrently enrolled in the advanced math course, okay? So if your student is already enrolled in advanced math and plans to stay in advanced math next year, then they can self-select to also take the advanced physical science class. But they don't have to take the advanced science if they're in advanced math. That's just an option they do have, okay? And then advanced Spanish. So this one's a little bit more tricky because when we talked to the middle schoolers today, I learned that I think they changed it a little bit. So not everybody has had Spanish yet this year when they registered. They haven't even, some of them haven't even started or are just currently in it. So it's hard to know if you want to be in an advanced version of something that you've never started already. So what I told your students is to do their best. Some of them have a background already, and so they might just really want to excel in a foreign language, and they could self-select to take this course. Basically, our advanced Spanish course is a way to squeeze 3 years of high school Spanish into 2 years. So it moves very quickly. It covers all of Spanish 1 and half of Spanish 2, and then the second half, the second year as a sophomore covers half of Spanish 2 and the rest of Spanish 3. With the goal in mind for all of those students to get to a college level Spanish course as a junior and a college level Spanish course as a senior. So that is usually the intention of students to be in the advanced track, okay? So that's, like I said, a little bit harder because some of your kids haven't even started Spanish yet, so they're not really sure where they're at, but they can do their best to judge where they are as a student and how hard they like to work and the pace that they like. And then Project Lead the Way. We offer 3 Project Lead the Way courses, and Project Lead the Way is a nationally recognized engineering program in which you can take a course in that. So next year your child will have the opportunity to take something called Intro to Engineering Design. And these are rigorous level courses. They have a little bit more math in them. I would say they're math heavy. At the end of the course, they take a test, and if they do really well in that test, then they can earn college credit in that. So it's actually their first opportunity to earn college credit in high school. That one, I would say, once again, strong math skills and probably a harder elective course. It's considered an elective because it's not required, but it is going to take a little bit more of their time and effort as far as homework and rigor. And then I think Ms. Esther is going to talk us through all of your math options, including a little more about advanced math.
Okay. This slide here hopefully really helps us to understand all the options that we have at the high school. I really tell kids, high school is great because there is really something for everyone. As far as elective choices, as far as math choices, there really is something for everyone. So today we also sent home a math letter from our math department that you should have received from your child. This graph here, we showed the students kind of walking them through. I think it really helps give us a good visual of maybe where to place kids. So with that being said, most of our students, most of our 9th graders end up in the regular math track. That is 2 trimesters of Algebra 1.5. Those are kids that are good at math. They tend to get A's, B's, high C's. That's where kids are going to fall in place in our regular math track. If you look at our year-long math track, that is our Algebra 1.5 curriculum, but we're slowing it down. We're slowing it down from 2 trimesters to 3 trimesters. So there, kids are getting a lesson from their teacher and then more work time in class to kind of be guided through that lesson even a little bit more. So those are kids that are maybe getting C minus, D's, F's in their math right now. Math is a little bit harder. Okay, moving down to the blue one. I might save that one for last, actually. We'll go down to the yellow one, advanced math options. Like I said, or Ms. Narducci was saying, advanced math. To jump from 8th to 9th grade for advanced math, you currently have to be tracked in the advanced math sequence, okay? So if your child's not in advanced math right now, we cannot put you into advanced math as a 9th grader. Okay, I'm going to use the word yet because that's going to bring me to that self-advanced section. If your child has a desire to do more math in high school, they are doing really well in their math 8 class, getting a solid A, we're going to want to self-advance them, if they want to our self-advancing track, which again puts them in a year-long math. So try 1 and try 2 are going to be our Algebra 1.5. And our try 3 is going to be our geometry A. That's going to then set them up to finish geometry as a sophomore and move into algebra 2 or advanced algebra 2 as a sophomore. Okay, so many options. What I have said is in the past, our kids and our math teachers at the middle school and you as parents have done a great job of telling and kind of figuring out what math your child should sign up for. I would say that if you want to move to the next slide, here's our little asterisk, is right now we want you to do your best in placing your child in math. However, know that at the end of the year, because what do math teachers like? They like to analyze data, right? They want to make sure the kids are placed correctly. So they're going to go to the spreadsheets, they're going to pull NWEA scores, standardized test grades, and we're actually going to tweak a few registrations and maybe move kids. Okay, with that being said, we probably only move, out of a class of 600, we're only maybe moving to 30 to 50 kids. So it's not a big chunk that we're moving, but just kind of keep that in mind. When schedules come out in August, if your schedule changed, that means that there was a little tweak in figuring out class registration. And if you have other questions, we are, just so you know, we'll have a whole group question and answer, but then all three of us counselors will be available after the presentation to kind of run scenarios by. We've been doing this for a while, and so there are lots of different scenarios that jump at us, so hopefully, don't stump us tonight, but we'll have the answer for you.
Oh, no, it's on, okay. I was just gonna jump in a little bit back to the advanced slide. So when Ms. Esser was talking about that, I remembered that I wanted to mention when we talk about advanced coursework in general, that we offer all of those advanced classes, and a common question we get from kids and parents is, can I take all those advanced classes at one time, or is there a limit, or what's too much? And I think the answer is, it's up to each student, right? So you can take advanced math, advanced science, advanced English, or project lead the way class and try to fit in some advanced Spanish if you'd like. But it's also about a balancing act of trying to figure out what works for your student if they're in activities, and everybody only has so much time in the day, and so you kind of have to decide what's gonna work for your student. Another question we got sometimes today talking about advanced coursework is, what if I sign up for this advanced class and then I'm like in way over my head? And generally I would say that doesn't happen. We do a pretty good job of placing or knowing when kids are ready to take an advanced class, or at least an adult in their life is usually pretty good at helping guide them in the correct direction. But if they do end up in an advanced course and it's way over their head, we always try to make the best of that trimester and then ease them into a regular section of that class in the future. So one, it's just about, you can take as many advanced classes as you'd like, but try to keep yourself in mind and the balance, and there's a quality of life involved in everybody and how much homework they like to do every night. And then two, you know, if you're ever misplaced in a course, kind of like math she was talking about, we care about your success, so we'll help you figure out the way to get to the right place. So, thank you.
Awesome. So also you received your child received their course registration book. So that is something that I always say it's 74 pages, 76 pages. So lots of pages, and that's classes that kids can take all throughout their 4 years here. So we get that out in 8th grade, but once they get to high school, they will only get the online version of that. So it's kind of good to come through, look at classes, what kind of future classes can I take, and there's just some important information. We are not available all the time, 24/7, and so when you're at home and you're thinking, I kind of want to do studio art, read the course description. Make sure that is the class that you're thinking it is by reading the course description. That's going to be your best tool into really finding out what each class entails. Also, in the registration book, something that's going to be really important is something called the course ID, the course number. Any other names that we have for it yet? It is 2 letters and 4 numbers. So you can see up here, for example, English 9A and English 9B. The course number is going to be EN 1071, EN 1072. That is important because that is the number that you or your child need to enter in student view so they get registered for the right class. All you will be doing that day, is entering in course numbers. You will not have to search a title or anything like that. You need to, for most accurate course registration, is to type in the course number. So keep that in mind. Let's see, I think that's all for, what also is nice in the course registration, page 1 talks about our schedule change policy. Page 2, I believe, talks about graduation requirements. So a lot of that stuff that we just talked about is reviewed in the registration book. All right, so now it's always nice to have visuals, right? Kids are always like, well, what could my schedule look like? So this slide kids always kind of sit up when we get to this slide because it really truly does give you a visual for what a schedule will look like. So just so you know, if you don't have older kids in the high school yet, 2 tries is equal to 1 year. So this student here is in English 9 try 1 and English 9 try 2. You will see that they do not have English 9 try 3. This student had Algebra 1.5 try 1, and then not again until trimester 3. You will see that a lot of the teachers do not repeat for this student, and that's pretty common, minus the homeroom. Classes are all over the board, anywhere from 2nd floor, 3rd floor, down to 1st, back up to 3rd. So this is a pretty common schedule for a 9th grader. This sheet right here is the final registration sheet. I don't know if you can see it, but what it is that sheet right here. What I love best about this sheet is on the right-hand column are all the classes that 9th graders can take. So you do not have to comb through the course registration book tonight and highlight all the classes that 9th graders can take. We did that for you right here on the sheet. Okay, so that is very helpful. This is a sheet that needs to be filled out with the course number and then the course title. You will see that at the bottom, we'll have alternate choices. It is very rare for a 9th grader that we would have to move into the alternate choices, but it does happen for just a handful of our students whose schedules are maybe a little bit more complicated, so it's nice to have those alternates there so we don't have to bother you in the summer when we're finishing the schedules. So please also select 3 alternates. What's my next slide here? Okay, so here is, again, some more visuals of what we want your registration to look like. Obviously, it won't look exactly like this, but the example is kind of good for us to have in our mind. So this student here is an advanced Algebra 1 an advanced math student, and you will see, if only I was tall enough, or I had a pointer, you would see that under the math, they have 2 math courses. What they had to do is drop down that 3rd math, because advanced math is 3 tries, they had to drop it down under Phi Ed. This student is in band and choir, so they had to put 3 course numbers, 1 number in each box to finish out their choir. And that student is done, minus their alternates. So that's a pretty common schedule for a 9th grader. Could look like your son or daughter's. Next slide, here's an example of a student in Algebra 1.5 year long. And then the student's not in band or choir, not taking a world of language, and selected their alternates. This student here, a couple things that I like to point out on this one. If your student's just going into Algebra 1.5, that's all you need to do for math. But this student decided to self-accelerate, so if you can see, they dropped down their Geometry A. So again, we do not have 3 math boxes. That math had to drop down. This student's Spanish 1, and then they decided to take 2 trimesters of IED, which means they ran out of boxes, so they had to move their health back to their 9th grade year. 10th grade year. So they crossed it out, which you can do. Lots of unique situations, which then brings me to my next slide. So on the back of here, if you will see many options, right? There's many pathways in high school. You will see if you're a student that had to cross out health because you're maxed out, you do not have room for it, you have options. You can take it as a sophomore, or your family can choose to pay for it this summer. That is the blurb under extra STMA online courses offered in the summer. I'm talking about this. Some of you do not need to worry about this. For those of you that do, might have heard that this is an option by talking to other people, so we want to make sure that you're aware of it. That is an option to pay for health or Phi Ed in the summer. Also, as you can see, you've probably heard STMA now has an online school. If for some reason your child wants to do online through supplemental, meaning that they're taking 2 classes online and 3 at the high school, that is an option. You can ask us questions on that. Again, it's a small percentage of people that pertains to, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but there's more information on the back of your yellow sheet for you to go over. And then, of course, troubleshoot any questions with us. All right, so next steps, here we go. Again, next Tuesday, online registration, so 1 week from today, the window opens. You can start entering in your online selections on Student View. Next week, we will be back to the middle schools collecting the sheets and then answering any questions that they maybe have. Like I said, do your best to pick your math, but ultimately, in the end, we might need to tweak that. Make sure you have access to your Student View account. So if your student does not, I think every kid yesterday, they were like, yes, we check Student View, yes, we know how. So hopefully that is the case. If not, have them troubleshoot with one of their middle school teachers or call the help desk to get a login and password there. And then of course, we really want this process to go well. It's important to us that it goes smoothly. And so please reach out to us. Our emails are on here. If you have questions, talking to your child's math teacher, maybe their English teacher, teachers that know them best about their stress level, what their interests are, please talk to people. That's how this process goes smoothly, so please don't shy away from asking us questions. Our information is there, and then with that, our last slide we'll just keep up, just different activities that we have. Obviously, making connections in high school is important, whether it's with an adult, whether it's with peers, and so we of course encourage kids to get involved in any way possible. All right, so with that being said, what we're gonna do, we'll have a large group, question and answer, so don't be shy, ask us the questions. And then, of course, if you have a unique situation, feel free to come down and see us afterwards. This light is, up there, the spotlight.
Quick question about the math. If they decide to self-advance and do math 1 and 2 this year and next year, and then the geometry of third trimester, what happens next year if they decide they don't want to do the advanced math? Do they just continue the regular pace and stuff?
Good question. I would tell you that generally that doesn't happen. That's unique, but yes, in that case, then a student might just take 1 trimester of geometry, fill that other spot with an elective, gain that back essentially from their 9th grade year, and then take Algebra 2 as a junior. Yes, good question. She asked, if they start in year long, can they switch to regular if they do really well? Absolutely, yep. So we have students who kind of move between the tracks a little bit. They start in year long, they do well, then they take over in their sophomore year and join the regular track for sure. And some that go the other way too. Maybe they thought they could do it in high school and then things were hard for whatever reason and they might jump into the year long. So kids move around a little bit in this, probably with the exception of that self-advancing, because if you don't register to take that geometry 3rd trimester, then you really can't start doing it later. Which is common, just so you know that kids will come in and they'll say, oh, I'm supposed to do this. And like right now, we're in the situation where we don't have any open seats for a kid to start self-advancing, even if they have the room. So we just have to say no. So if they're thinking about that, then it's important they register that way. Question was, is advanced math a prerequisite for AP Sciences? Not necessarily advanced math, but students who are going to be in the AP Science track, like as a senior, sometimes need to be concurrently enrolled in also an AP Math course. So like we showed you before, that self-advancing track gets you to advanced math. You can make that leap at some point. And so that's what we would recommend for those students to do, is to move from if they're in the regular track, when they start, jump into the advanced to coincide with the AP as a senior.
Back to the year-long math, so if they're going to do that one, so we have the 2 options already put in there, so if they're doing it that 3rd trimester, is there a different number than
Yes, correct. So if you look on the right-hand side it says Algebra 1.5 year long, and there should be 3 course codes for it. So you're gonna actually use those course numbers that are on the registration sheet and not the regular Algebra 1.5 numbers. It has completely separate ones. So, I wish I had a pointer.
Yeah, point back.
Yep, so right down there, the last one listed, yep, I couldn't remember if it was the last. You would use those 3 course codes and not the regular.
I missed that there, I see it now. Thank
Oh, that's okay, easy to miss.
So for Chinese, we only offer Chinese 1, 2, 3, and 4. The Spanish track is a little different, where we offer CIS Spanish, so they could get college credit, or AP Spanish, which they also get college credit for. So not a certificate, but also they could earn college credit.
But I'll just add to that, in order to get to AP Spanish in the way our system is set up, you have to have taken Advanced Spanish 1 as a freshman and Advanced Spanish 2 as a sophomore. So you'd have to start out in the Advanced Spanish track. Any other burning questions? Yeah.
The Chinese, what's the course, are you learning or are you
Both. Yep. Ni hao, that's the only word I know in Chinese. I like to say it though when I can. Yes?
Can you clarify again, what, is that 1 year? And then
Yep. So are you speaking about Spanish, the advanced Spanish?
well, Spanish, is that 1 year for?
Yes, correct. Yep.
And advanced Spanish?
The advanced Spanish is still 2 trimesters. However, it condenses all of Spanish 1, and then it takes half of the Spanish 2 curriculum. So you're really doing like a 1.5 years of Spanish in 2 trimesters. But it only takes 2. That's why it's advanced, because you're flying through it.
So to take the advanced Spanish, you would need it was like for teachers to
No, I think that is more of like have a conversation with your Spanish teacher and see what they say. But ultimately, students can kind of self-select that at this point and see where they go. And like we talked about, it's hard when they've never even had it in some situations. So everybody's doing their best to find the right placement, but yeah.
Are courses first come, first served, or is how it's filled up, or you were talking about how you'll try to take everybody's request and figure out, staffing?
Yeah, I would not consider it first come, first serve. So sign up for what you want to right now, and more than likely with our 9th graders, that tends to be what they get. There are a handful of situations where we have to move to the alternate choices, but for the most part, you get in the classes.
But on that note, don't procrastinate entering those courses online, friends. We want those. I'm just kidding. But I will do one last hopeless plug for this. When your student is entering it with them, hopefully you guys maybe are at a computer together, or maybe you're on your phones together. That's probably more like it. Kids do everything on their phones, and it kills me because it's so small, but they can handle it, I guess. But please, please, please enter the course code and don't search by the title type, because when you type in a title like English 9, unfortunately in our system, you're gonna get like this huge list of English 9 credit classes that we've had over time, because it's like a database, and maybe we've changed our course code or something. So then your child might register for the wrong English, which ultimately we will get to and fix, but it'll just make it a lot easier on everyone if they use that course code, because then they'll be in the right place to start with. So please use the course codes that are listed on the sheet. Hopeless plug. Yeah. Yeah, not necessarily Spanish, but foreign language in general. And yes, I would say the best way to probably look at it is if you're looking at your child and you think that they're probably a student. When we talk about college, colleges, technical schools, it's community colleges, and it's four-year schools. So really, the track we're talking about is kids who you think are going to leave this high school and graduate and go directly to a four-year college or university, because those are the people who recommend that. Like if you're sitting here and your child wants to go to a trade school and be a welder or start out at community college and save some dollars, then those necessarily won't be requirements. But if they're looking to jump right from here to a four-year school, that's where that comes into play. Yeah, so it's hard to know, but you could just kind of use that as a catalyst, yeah. Yes. There sure is. We offer PSEO. That is something that actually, I'll tell you, on our website, there's a tab and a link that talks a lot about PSEO. It's not an opportunity until you get to be a junior and a senior most of the time, but that is when you attend college off campus at a college and take classes there.
And there's information, so on the first few pages of the registration guide, there's information on PSEO, but then also our CIS, so we're talking lots of things here, college and the school classes, and our AP, so advanced placement courses. All of those are listed in the first few pages of the registration book, so for everybody that's wondering what some of that means, refer to those first few pages. Correct. When kids are starting to take college credits, they're essentially building two transcripts, their high school and their college.
Yes, correct. So the question was, if your student wants to take like a supplemental online class, can they just take that as part of their school day? And the answer is yes. So we do sometimes have students who will take like 4 classes at the high school and then they have 1 online course. The side to that is that they just can't be in our building when they're taking a course online. So if they're not enrolled in a class during that period, they just can't be here for supervision reasons. So then that makes it a little harder for parents to pick them up. He could do it after school as an additional class, not through STMA Online, but through other online schools. I know this could get hairy, we can talk. Because it's
And that would fall into,
I was like, oh, we could go down a rabbit hole with this one, but yes.
anytime a kid is taking more than the full-time student, then they would also have to pay for it though.
Yeah.
So there's lots of asterisks.
I know. Lots of flexibility, but.
Well, we are available if you have any unique circumstances that you want to chat with us about. Feel free to do so. Otherwise, stay warm. Have a great night and thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks for coming.